Before any of my employees have started working with me, I just make sure on the front end, hey, you're not afraid of spiders, you're not afraid of snakes, making sure that they're okay with the work that
you get $15 an hour though.
Well, it's a little bit more than that.
Welcome back to the Southside Blueprint. My name's Justin Teedy, and today I'm joined by Billy Rabbit and Jim and Zach from Brentsfield Crawl Space Solutions.
How's it going, everybody?
We're good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Happy to be here. Happy to be here on this beautiful day. Weather's starting to warm up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's you got to love Maryland weather, right? So I guess it's good for your guys' business, all this wet and moisture and all the.
Summertime's coming around. Definitely dealing with issues like humidity.
Sure.
Tape not sticking, adding dehumidifiers and everything like that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
No, so I think just getting started. Did you guys want to tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started with everything?
Yeah. So kind of an introduction. The first time I ever got into a crawl space, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, played in hide and seek with my sister at our house in Deal, which is kind of near Annapolis, if you guys know the area. So, moving on later on in life, college came around and I was looking for work during the summer times. I was working at a Mexican restaurant. One of the guys that was starting a business came up to me, and, in North Carolina, the minimum wage is a lot lower. I think it's like $7.25 or something.
Sure.
And it was still like that back then, but came up to me and said, how would you like to make $15 an hour?
Yeah.
And $15 an hour at that time, I mean, that's great money. Right. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want, and found out very quickly how difficult the job was, how dirty the job can be. So going underneath houses, completely gutting them and redoing them, but the finished product is really why we do it. Homeowners in Southern Maryland especially experience things like, smells, high humidity in their house, bowing floors, sagging floors, that sort of thing that can all be symptoms of a poor crawl space. So going underneath, really what we do, we pull out all the old insulation, all the old vapor barrier, start to build it up from scratch, really,
sure.
With high-grade material, just so that you won't have to pay for this project again. We really just take care of it the first time.
Sure. No, we certainly we have no shortage of experience with crawl spaces for sure with what we do too. So, so I guess so you guys are all things crawl space. I guess foundations and things as well.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, our services: waste removal, insulation, vapor barrier, dehumidifiers, French drains, sump pumps. When you're dealing with moisture or standing water in your crawl space. We've expanded recently into a lot more structural work. So we've started doing I-beams, jack support,
sure,
helical piles, which are really interesting. I'd love to talk about that more.
Motor mediation as well.
Yep, motor mediation, organic growth cleaning. That can definitely come up on a home inspection. Other structural work, push piles. We just learned about that at a recent conference.
Sure.
What was that one thing you talked about?
What's that?
The helix piles
helical piles and that's a great question. Helical piles are for resupporting your foundation.
Okay.
So think about, a helix, right? So just a pile, a long rod with a helix on the bottom.
Sure.
That curves around, kind of digs into the ground and transfers the load of your foundation to a deeper point.
Okay.
Huh.
Now, the reason for this helical pile, if you see maybe stair-step cracks on your masonry or your block outside on your foundation, larger than 1/4 inch is where we kind of see that we need to do these piles. Essentially, a structural engineer comes out and identifies how many piles we need, the distance between them, but it's really about resupporting that foundation to prevent any future settlement.
Sure.
So when these piles are installed, essentially we have a nice machine that really drives them down into the ground. Once we hit a certain PSI, right, that's where we're able to transfer the load down below 14 feet. Typically is where we hit that pressure, and then we're able to put a bracket on it for the underpinning, essentially connecting that bracket to the footer and then lifting on it just to resupport that corner. A lot of times it's the corner of a house that's falling down. So.
Yeah, just kind of sag down over time or whatever, settled and things like that.
Yeah, and especially with gutters. I mean, if your gutters aren't ran out, 5 feet or so, or if you've got a lot of, backwards grade towards your house, moisture can be running back towards that foundation. If you have a heavy load, say you added a second story on your original foundation, sometimes we can see those cracks. Can be vertical cracks, horizontal cracks, stair-step cracks are the most common for sure.
Yeah. The other thing, too, that people see, we ran into a house not too long ago, I would say probably an investor house, and it was interesting. So, you of course overgrew around the house, and whatnot, and pretty much Mother Nature will find a way, right? So, it started having all these, seedlings and all these trees or whatever grow up around the foundation, and one of the trees was pretty much growing into the foundation or whatnot, and it was the same thing. It was all the water was dumping in that corner, and a pretty large tree started growing, and it was just kind of a disaster or whatever. And so certainly it sounds like something they would benefit from for sure.
We've definitely seen a lot underneath houses. We've seen vines, we've seen stumps, we've seen anything you can think of, especially, wildlife gets down there sometimes. If you're missing a crawl space door, plenty of snakes underneath houses. So I say, before any of my employees have started working with me, I just make sure on the front end, hey, you're not afraid of spiders, you're not afraid of snakes, making sure that they're okay with the work that
you get $15 an hour though.
Well, that's a little bit more than that.
They'll tell you right before you get in, there's probably a snake, probably not. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you just get this feeling you're underneath the house in the dark, and you're like, I feel the presence of a snake underneath this house.
No, for sure. Yeah, you shine the flashlight down, and all you see is eyes. You're like,
That's nice. I send them under.
Right.
Yeah. You guys go first. Yeah,
it's a little dark back there. I don't know if you,
Exactly. So, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what are the current condition of a lot of the homes you're seeing in Southern Maryland right now?
You've got a lot of houses in Southern Maryland that were really built in the 70s and 80s and that are in need of crawl space refreshers. And when I say that, you've typically got humidity and moisture issues underneath the house.
Sure.
From previous practices. They used to think that having crawl space vents were the best way to go about ventilating and keeping a crawl space dry, when really all that did was introduce moisture into the space.
Sure.
So high humidity underneath houses, falling insulation. Fiberglass insulation was big during that time and still is. Now we go to wall insulation. That's more of a permanent install. Going to last a lot longer, and it's not going to fall down.
Sure.
Standing water underneath houses just from poor drainage over the years, things that haven't been kept up with. But our recommendation is to go underneath the house at least once a year.
Sure.
Or have it inspected once a year.
Well, I think you had mentioned something that I think, Jim, that probably the easiest fix that people just neglect almost every house is just getting the downspouts out away from the foundation.
Yeah, it's big, and it can lead to a lot of larger problems underneath the house, costly issues. Where you have a downspout adapter that's maybe $5 or $10 from those that you can slap right on the end of your gutters, but it can cost thousands of dollars in repairs underneath your house.
Oh, absolutely.
Without the proper drainage.
No, and it's certainly like you can almost account anytime that we have a home inspection and you see like moisture, intrusion from the basement or the crawl space or whatever. That's always the first place I end up going or whatever is out to the house and see where the downspouts are or whatever. And I would say probably 9 times out of 10 or whatever, there it is, just dumping water right by the foundation of the house, and you're just like, well, let's start with that. That's the easiest fix or whatnot. So
right, and a lot of properties deal with this moisture, and the center block, masonry foundations, the block is meant to be permeable.
Sure.
Meaning you're supposed to allow water to travel freely between this block. The important thing is catching it with a French drain. Now, a French drain is an interior perimeter drain, so it runs along the footer downhill towards a sump pump. The sump pumps we use are cast iron, M63. Zoller is the current product we offer. It has a 5-year warranty. One of the only sump pumps on the market with a cast iron body, as well as a cast iron impeller. Very nice sump pump. We have battery backup systems, so you're able to install those. Wi-Fi enabled even, so you can control it straight from your phone. That's your first defense against staining water underneath your house. Now, if you're still dealing with high humidity issues underneath your house, adding a dehumidifier is always recommended.
Sure.
Sealing up those crawl space vents so you don't pull that outdoor air in.
Sure.
Really helps prevent issues with wood rot, with high humidity where it's going to pull down any fiberglass, insulation. You'll actually see water droplets in the insulation if you don't have a dehumidifier during the summertime.
Wow, that's crazy.
So what are some of the signs that a homeowner will notice when, maybe they should give you guys a call that they might have a bad crawl space?
Yeah, so underneath homes, you have, especially older people, they're not going to be crawling underneath. Mm-hmm. That's where our free inspections come in. We'll go in and take a look. But if you're just seeing like maybe I have an issue underneath the house, this past winter was brutal. I mean, we got down to single digits on some days.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints in the wintertime is, my floors are freezing cold. I must have an insulation problem. We go down there and the insulation is proper. It meets code. It's properly hung. Maybe it's missing in some spots. But the real issue is that your crawl space is getting down to 20, 30, 35, 40 degrees in the wintertime. Now, what we do with our insulation, when we move it from in between the joists to the wall system, what that does is it increases the temperature of your crawl space, so you have a less difference between the inside of your house and your crawl space. Even when it's in the teens outside, our crawl spaces, on average, are between 60 and 65 degrees. Even on the coldest days, we're able to do that. Another sign, if you need to have crawl space work done, is going to be, smells. Smells is the biggest thing. You get, musty, moldy smells in your house. You can think about 40 to 50% of your indoor air comes from underneath your home. So, you want to make sure that air is not traveling through a space where there's mold, organic growth, falling insulation, pests, that sort of thing, high humidity. Once you're able to control the air quality underneath, it does improve the air quality inside, and we say that it does that passively, not actively.
Sure. Yeah, that's something that when we go on showings, we see that quite frequently. That if you do get a musty smell, that it, not necessarily like a odor from an animal or a cat or something. A lot of people are very confused like what that smell is, and I would say 9 times out of 10 it's from the crawl space.
Right, and it can even be from finished crawl spaces. There's a lot of products that are made overseas that we really don't know what's inside of them.
Sure.
There's on note, very well sourced and recorded, is a vapor barrier that actually puts out a cat pee odor.
Smells awful.
It smells terrible, and it'll be on your clothes for weeks. Because once you touch it, they think it's the string in a woven vapor barrier that really causes this smell. But the vapor barrier itself, made overseas, and once it comes into contact with moisture, releases gases. Now,
Sure.
The good thing about our vapor barrier, it's all made in the USA, which is important to us. All of our major products are, insulation, dehumidifier, vapor barriers, sump pumps. All of it's manufactured in the USA, which is important to us. Now, our vapor barriers are odor-free. We have an odor-free guarantee on our crawl spaces, so you won't get smells from it after the work's done.
Sure.
I've been told numerous times that just after a few days of us working or laying down sheets, that the air quality, the smell, it's like insanely better than what it had been before.
Oh, sure.
And, mold remediation is a big thing, too. They say, when I get a question from the customer, are your chemicals safe? I say, it's safer than the mold, for sure. So you're going to deal with the chemicals for a day, but following that, the air quality
Sure.
Is going to be tremendous. Some people are like, hey, I'm not going to be home when you're spraying, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Some people say, I don't smell it at all. I'm going to stay home or just open my windows. But once the finished product's there, you can see that the wood looks like new construction after we're done spraying.
Sure.
It even takes care of the stains.
Yeah.
If you look at our pictures on Facebook or social media, it looks like the house was just built after we're done spraying and doing our encapsulations.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, I know before we got started, you guys were telling us you just came back from Crawl Space Con.
Yeah. So Crawl Space Con.
They have a convention for everything, it sounds like.
It's the only convention, to my knowledge, in the U.S., that's yearly, where contractors and other crawl space business owners, they come together, crew leaders, crew members, we all come together to learn about new innovations in our industry, keeping up with products, materials, as well as processes, how to improve processes, how to create better profit margin, how to give a better experience to your customers. Because truly, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, how your customers feel about the work, the price that we're able to give them, without busting their budget and anything like that. Now, Walter Foundation Products is who put that on. I want to say thank you to them. They did a great job this year. They say every year it gets better. One of our guys, they did a giveaway at the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
One of our guys actually got like a duck blind.
Oh, wow.
He won a duck blind
There you go.
there.
They know the way to the hearts to the crawl space guys. The duck blind.
I told Jeff, I said, you can just drop that off on our property for me. You can hunt there anytime.
Right.
But no, it was a great event. We learned a lot about what we can improve on, as well as what we're already doing, just confirming that it's the right thing. So, we had different brands out there. We had Aprilaire out there. We had YCS. Aprilaire we're exclusive with them on dehumidifiers. Everybody's certified for Aprilaire installation. YCS was there showing off their products like the Pro Cleaner and their vapor barrier. what else? So insulation. There was different attic insulation. There was fiberglass insulation was there.
Foam board, termite treated foam board.
Termite treated foam board is huge. I mean,
we had to switch to that because it was just kind of like too good to be true,
Right, yeah.
We got to.
Sure.
Yeah, well, all of the contractors are using regular foam board, this termite treated foam board, to help prevent, termites from coming up the masonry up to your sill.
Sure.
Eating up the wood. That we see that a lot in Southern Maryland. Termite issues. Brings the importance of termite inspections and having that done. When we do our insulation on the walls, we leave a small gap, and that's required by the manufacturer. I don't think it's in the code yet. But it's required by our manufacturer, and it's good practice. just leaving a gap for future termite inspections where you don't have to remove the wall insulation to inspect that.
Well, let's face it. I mean, moisture, humidity, all that stuff, that's just brewing grounds for bugs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and, another thing I like to say is when we move in, everything likes to move out.
Sure.
They don't want to live in a nice, clean, dry space without other pests, without moisture, that sort of thing. It really helps to prevent it from being a brewing ground for pests and, organic growth and mold.
Yeah.
So everything that we do is an improvement for the space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know with anything related to crawl space, whether it's foundation, whether it's remediation, what all those things, it really sucks for a homeowner because it's one of those things that it's probably needed, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things that you don't really get much of the benefit other than smells, right? Not having to live with the smells, but it's just like the maintenance of, maintaining your septic system or things. It's not really like the sexy part of homeownership, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate, it's just, it's what you got to do, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's not. And really you look at, maybe a kitchen renovation or a bathroom renovation. You can say, oh, this looks so beautiful. Of course, I'll write the check for whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
To get what I want.
Sure.
Now, crawl space encapsulations, it's more, oh, no, I have to encapsulate my crawl space, or I have issues underneath my house that I need to take care of.
Sure.
It's not like I tell my customers, I'll sleep down there for one night if you want me to.
Yeah.
But no one's actively staying.
Has anyone taken you up on that?
I have not stayed.
No?
Let's see if we can make that happen.
I think if I got in trouble with my wife, I might have to.
Right, yeah, exactly. So it might be the safer of the two, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, I mean, it's certainly that. I mean, and we've gone in lots of houses too that, maintenance wasn't done. It was neglected or, it was in especially throughout Southern Maryland, we've got lots of places that are probably a little bit more prone to crawl space issues because lower lying water tends to, settle there. It doesn't really, saturate the ground. But then we've actually seen where pretty much those, the flooring has been rotten or whatever because of, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of just neglect. The floor is caved in, what I mean? So, which causes other problems too that we've kind of chatted about. So,
unfortunately, when that wood starts to rot out, sometimes the only thing you can do is cut out the floor.
Yeah.
Cut out the floor, completely redo the joists. I actually just helped my father-in-law do that. The first day it was his dining room. His dining room had a 2-inch dip in the middle, and we knew that there was issues going on underneath. Now the crawl space was so tight over the house that you couldn't do it from underneath. We ended up, it was tile, breaking up tile. You know how heavy tile can be.
Sure.
Pulling out 800 pounds of tile. Once we did that, we pulled the subfloor up, and we were able to see the joist completely cracked in the middle.
Yeah.
So pulling that out, doing new beams, new joist, and then putting new subfloor, new tile down. It's a big process, and it can be tough work.
Yeah. It's important to do it now, do it once and done, that's the biggest thing. You know?
And for new construction, what they're going with, the code hasn't really kept up with the demands of the industry.
Sure.
What we're doing exceeds code. So we're putting in 12 mil vapor barrier when the requirement is only 6 mil.
Sure.
It's a woven vapor barrier that we're putting in. It's class A. Whereas the 6 mil clear is painter's plastic or builder grade sort of stuff. Not hating on it. I wish the codes would be rewritten to, for our industry and also for our region. We deal with very high humidity. I feel that if you have a poured concrete foundation wall, they should be required to have a dehumidifier as soon as the house is built.
Sure.
We've done mold remediation on new constructions, houses that are 1, 2, 3 years old, just because they're already facing the issues with mold, organic growth, and humidity.
Sure.
So doing the mold remediation on, no one wants to foot out, well, the house at first is expensive already. I mean, you've got these houses you pay $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 for, and then as soon as you move in, that house crawl space has been getting wet already. You have to do a mold remediation, fork out however much money it takes to get it taken care of.
Yeah.
So going, even for new construction, going back with or starting fresh with new, nice vapor barrier, a properly working dehumidifier right from the get-go is going to protect your home for much longer.
Yeah, and I guess preventing the problem before it even starts.
Exactly. And another good point is maintenance. Once we're done with our encapsulations, we offer a maintenance program. Currently, it's no contract necessary. Just $150 per visit. We'll come by and clean everything up again. Make sure there's no issues, no standing water. All of the seams are still good. All of the insulation is still good. That your dehumidifier is working properly. Your condensate pump's working properly. We really go the extra mile when it comes to installing this equipment so that it's easily serviceable in the future.
Sure.
Now, other contractors, they may just do a condensate pump with vinyl tubing. We do a condensate pump with a safety switch so that if that condensate pump fails, it's going to immediately turn off your dehumidifier and notify you through your app. All of our dehumidifiers that we install now are Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So you can control it straight from your phone.
Okay.
So you don't even have to go in the crawl space.
Exactly. So maintenance free for the homeowner. That's one thing.
They're going to call them to go through the crawl space.
Right.
Just 2 years ago, we didn't have that. And thank goodness they came out with an adapter where you can convert your old dehumidifier to a new Wi-Fi dehumidifier and control it from your phone. Monitor it. Check the run times down to the minute. You can see how often your dehumidifier is running. But it really takes away the worry about, is my dehumidifier working properly? I haven't heard it in a few weeks. I need to call somebody. Everything is straight from your phone. I also have access to all of my customers' dehumidifiers and can monitor it remotely. So very often, if there is an issue, I know that the customer has an issue before they do.
That's cool.
Keeping up with them.
Very good.
Yeah, so I'm curious because in our industry, AI is definitely starting to affect, different aspects of it. Is there any AI affecting, the crawl space industry?
Yeah, it is actually. My marketing team reached out to me and said, hey, just want to let you know we're putting in a lot of stuff on the back end, different backlinks for your website to make us more visible now that everybody's using AI to not only decide who to call for crawl space work or any home repair or renovation for that matter. Currently, my marketing team said around 6 to 8% of our leads are coming from AI. And in the future, as soon as next year, it could be as much as 30%. I'm sure you guys use AI every day. I mean, it's becoming ever more part of our industry. One thing that I would like to see done is probably using AI for estimating, cutting down on our time to provide estimates to customers.
Sure.
I've thought of an idea of maybe we could put together an RC car that could go underneath,
scans it,
send it in, and do the square footage and measure up and everything like that.
We'll just get a robot Zach to go down there.
I don't want to put him out of a job. He's one of my best guys. Zach's done a great job. And, I really want to thank our customers. Our customers have been great. I want to thank Zach, all of our employees, as well as the different suppliers that help make the world go round for us. We've been in the industry only for 3 years officially in Southern Maryland. Now, of course, I've done this work since 2015 in North Carolina. Bringing it to Southern Maryland was huge because I saw that there was a big need for it. I've also got a heavy HVAC background. But coming to Southern Maryland, I noticed there's no other company that's crawl space specific in our area.
Sure.
There's other companies that offer it, say pest control companies, general construction companies. But we were really the first crawl space company in our area that just focuses on crawl space work.
Yeah. Well, I think integrity in that space is tough, right? So, I mean, we've seen certainly as, you get a seller that's in need and then the seller's in a bad, predicament or whatever because they're trying to sell a house, the crawl space is all jacked up or whatever, and then all of a sudden, what do? They go to Google, right? So, and then they're going to not necessarily because of who's being recommended to them, but who's paying for ads to get on the top of the page, and so then they're clicking on that, and they're having some company come out of Northern Virginia or wherever and coming down to Southern Maryland, and now you kind of have this, you see a for sale sign in the yard, and and all of a sudden, a job that should be one price is now 5-10 times what it really should be. Or I've even seen it where all the way up to almost $70,000 of crawl space work and didn't even fix the issue.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's tough. And I think, kind of your point too, it's tough because I think in the state of Maryland, pretty much you can do anything, any type of home improvement, whether it's crawl spaces, roofs, whatever, with an MHIC license. And so there's not really much, specification on that. I mean, I know there's other things that you guys, I'm sure, get certified on and things like that. Your vendors or your, the people that you guys are getting supplies with have training and stuff like that. But that's probably one of my biggest gripes in the state of Maryland is that they blanket everything under this one license. And it's scary because anybody with an MHIC license can go down and say that they're a mold remediator or a crawl space company. Yeah. And it's very tough for sure. So, but hopefully Maryland will get their act together and figure that out because, somebody that's going in and doing painting quotes shouldn't also be going, oh, yeah, I can do your crawl space work too. So,
and we see it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we see the discrepancies in price. Yeah. And it's really a disservice to customers in Southern Maryland because if they only get one quote, they may think that's all that's out there for them. And it's whoever pops up at the top. I've also seen quotes as high as 60, 70,000.
Oh yeah,
and especially for the older community.
Sure,
they really don't know any better. They probably paid $30,000 for their house back in 1950. Now they're paying more than what their house was worth then, just in a repair.
A professional salesperson is showing up, not necessarily a crawl space expert.
Right, and the difference about us is before I ever had employees, it was just me.
Yeah.
Projects would take me 150 hours. Sure. I was under there doing the work myself.
Sure. You and the spiders.
Yeah. We were all hanging out together.
Right.
I can't imagine doing it by myself.
No.
Projects would take forever. But essentially, it humbled me to know that who I put in the place, that when I teach them to do the work, it's going to be done right.
Sure.
All of our employees are W-2. Meaning we have everybody in-house. You see with contractors in Southern Maryland, a lot of them will use the same crews.
Sure.
Now we have everybody in-house. They've only worked for me. I train them personally.
Yeah.
And then my crew leaders, they'll train the crew members when they come in. I don't bring anybody in right now, at least, that has prior experience.
Sure.
I don't want to bring bad habits from other companies.
Yeah.
So we train everybody right from fresh and build them up to what we want them to be.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, and I think this all just kind of goes back into the importance of a home inspection.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So thinking about home inspections, you have no idea what's going on under your home, and don't wait until you have to sell your house and then let the home inspector catch it and potentially lose a buyer. I mean, I'm sure you've seen people completely fall out of deals because once they agree to a price and then they do the home inspection, they find out that there's mold, organic growth, or standing water underneath their house. And a lot of people throw their hands up when they see mold. They think the whole house is infested with it.
Oh, sure.
We're not willing to buy this house at all because you have mold on your home inspection.
Yeah. Well, it's tough too because we also see home inspections where they go out and then there's a blemish on the 2x4, the joist, whatever. Like, oh, there's mold here, or they can't say mold. Organic growth. There's organic growth. You know what I mean? And then we bring out somebody that actually has some knowledge in in that space, whatever. And they're like, look, it's not as bad as what it is. Everything looks great or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a tough situation. But the other piece of it too is you just don't want to be at the mercy of, all of a sudden I'm under contract for this new house. I'm selling my house. And now all of a sudden I've got this work or whatever that needs to be done in my crawl space. I mean, it's so much better to do that. But then all the other benefits that I think you guys have already hit on about, smells and safety and, you know what I mean? You certainly don't want to go out and put all that new flooring or tile in to find out that, 2 years from now or whatever, you're having cracking in the tiling because, termites have eaten away your floor joists,
And we've seen it definitely. But can we talk about what is the requirement to get into the home inspection field? I've heard rumors that it's only a few-week training and that you can just jump right into doing home inspections. But is there any requirement for having this sort of trade knowledge going into home inspections? Do you know about that?
I mean, it certainly is a license thing in Maryland. You have to have a license. Virginia does it a little bit different where I believe you have to actually go in and actually like kind of be in the trade for a little while. You have to do so many, I believe in Virginia, you have to do so many home inspections before you kind of can get that. There's a test associated with it. I think the challenge with home inspections or whatever, home inspectors or whatnot is that, you've got people with varying levels of experience that are going into this. And then there's also a challenge too. It's because, at the end of the day, they've got a job to do to kind of, bring forward, any issues, whatever, but they're only seeing a snapshot of the house, right? They're spending an hour, 2 hours at most or whatever in this house before you have to purchase it. And so they're trying to do that, but then they're also trying to be, a non-alarmist or whatever to try to run them out. But it's tough. I mean, I'll be honest, we face challenges all the time or whatever, whether it's, with one of our buyer clients or on the listing side of it. I've had a deal blow up or whatever because the home inspector had said, there's foundation issues, all these things or whatever, the bricks are cracking or whatever, in the foundation. Well, then he also sent in the same report or whatever. He sent all the concrete or whatever, all the cinder block foundation. I'm like, man, that brick is faux, man. It's for decoration. Like, it's, you know what I mean? I'm like, you go down like 3 more sections in your report, you can see the foundation. It's cinder block. There's no crack in that. I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. They'll put some hydraulic cement, or they'll clean up the mortar or whatever. I'm like, there's no foundation issues with this house. It's tough. I mean, it's a challenge, right? Because I mean, they want to CYA, as best as they can too, but also try to give that, there. But I mean, one of the things that we do to all of our clients is, I mean, home inspections are definitely something that we say, hey, especially just having an idea. But at the end of the day, if there's some type of I feel like a home inspector is really just to find, things that we then probably want to bring in like a specialist to actually come in and do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if the crawl space is all jacked up, especially like if it's our seller, I mean, we're always getting a second opinion, having somebody come in and look at it, putting an extra set of eyes or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, I've seen a home inspection report from the same company, 2 different inspectors, and you would think they're with 2 totally different houses, right. Same exact house. So, I think it's good to have a home inspection, but I also think it's probably even more important to make sure that if there's something that's concerning to you as a buyer, or if something's brought forward about your house as a seller, I mean, get a second opinion. There's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. Even if you have to pay for somebody to come out and do that or whatnot. I know you guys, do free inspections, right?
Yeah. We do free estimates, free inspections. We'll take a look underneath your house for you for free.
Yeah.
One thing about home inspectors and home inspections is, when we do the crawl space encapsulation and then a few years later the customer or our customer wants to sell their home.
Sure.
Sometimes we end up finding that the home inspector takes twice as many photos in the space because it's clean.
Right.
So they're willing to go down and go all the way down.
Right, yeah.
Whereas if it's dirty, they just take a picture right
from
the entrance and say, oh, yeah, you got some issues down there.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I was I just bought land and we're planning on building, but
sure.
I remember when I was in the market possibly for buying a home, and I was looking at homes with my realtor, and she didn't really know that I would own this business and
sure.
was in this field, and she saw me going into the attic. She saw me going in the crawl space, and she's like, I've never had somebody do that.
Right.
Somebody that's just buying a home.
Yeah.
But really, if you're able to go underneath your home and take a look for yourself or the potential home that you're buying, I think that is very important to get an idea of it. Or, just give us a call if you're not able to. We'll come look for you. Free of charge, even if it's a home you may not be too serious about buying, we'll take a look for you.
Or hire a good real estate agent that's willing to go in the crawl space for you, right?
Yeah, well,
I've been in my fair share of crawl spaces.
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean it's tough. I mean, that's the challenge with being in the home services industry is there's just so many different variables. Nothing's ever the same. Every house is different. You know what I mean? Like we kind of hit on this briefly too about new construction. Well, the challenge with new construction is that you might get those first couple of homes in the neighborhood or whatever, but then a couple of homes in or whatever, all of a sudden all that water is diverting, right? All the water was free flowing. So now all of a sudden those first couple of houses that they built in that neighborhood, they didn't have water problems at first. Well, now all of a sudden you put a couple more homes in there and it's diverting all the water into their foundation.
Yep.
Well, then they have water issues, and then they're calling you guys, right? So
and as basements become more and more prevalent in Southern Maryland and the larger communities now, especially new homes, one thing that I'm seeing is that even on new construction, the backfill that they put in against that wall,
sure.
Against your foundation wall, they don't tamp it down great,
yeah.
and it ends up settling. So you have immediately a backwards grade towards your basement.
Yeah.
Most basements have some pumps, but maybe not French drains. You can have water completely destroy a finished basement if you don't have the proper drainage put in place for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, and sometimes it's something major. Sometimes it's just could be something very simple or whatever. So, but again, I mean, that's one of the challenges we tell people all the time is like, I mean, you got to maintain your home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, just like that settling. I mean, it might mean that you might have to come in and backfill that stuff. You know what I mean? Keep the grading, keeping all the water away from the house. I mean, between sun and water, those are the 2 things that kill houses.
Right. Right. And if you have settling, the foundation especially, it's so important to also get a specialist, a structural engineer involved. Having a structural engineer certify your work is very important. Currently, we're using Ed Reed. He was on, Pax River base for 30 years as their, chief structural engineer.
Yeah.
So using him and using his expertise to identify what truly needs to happen is very important. Whereas other companies, they can come out and say, oh, yeah, I think you need 4 or 5 helical piles. Sometimes I've said, yeah, I think it needs helical piles. I call Ed out, and he comes out and he says, no, this is just, crack from wind or stress or something like that. It just needs to be filled.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But that's the importance of having a structural engineer, somebody who understands loads,
Exactly.
somebody who understands the foundations and why it happened
Well,
and
sure.
how to fix it.
Yeah, the notorious home flipper that decides to take the walls out, right?
Right. Take the wall out and then
Let's get that open concept.
Open ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
With it, so.
Very good. So, cool.
Alrighty, guys. Well, did you guys want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, just want to say thanks again to all of our customers. You can find us brentsfieldcs.com. You can submit a online ticket. We'll reach out to you that day or the following day. Get back with you about scheduling an estimate. You can give me a call directly. Right now, my cell phone number is my, business line.
Sure.
So call us.
Yeah, I know when I called you, I think you were on a job and you picked right up.
Jim Brentsfield.
Yeah.
Call space,
Right away, every single time. Middle of the conversation, I'll be right back.
I got to take this call. But yeah, give us a call, 252-435-4355. That's an Outer Banks number. I live in North Carolina for a long time.
252.
We're going to get you a St. Mary's County number here soon, right?
Yep.
Or I guess you're going to be Charles County.
Well, I need a secretary is what I need. So I need somebody to take the calls for me so I can get back to work.
There you go, Zach. You got some promise in your future.
I'll get out of the space.
And get away from those spiders.
Yeah.
He'll be good at whatever he does.
So,
But yeah, give us a call or submit an online ticket. You can also send me an email, jim.brentsfield@gmail.com. We'll get back with you, schedule the estimate. Anytime you call us, we're typically booked out, 2 months, 3 months, just because there's so much demand in our area. So when you sign your estimate, it'll be 2 or 3 months from that point. Typically, if you're in a situation where you're trying to sell the house, you have a closing date, and the buyer is requiring that the work's done prior to the sale of the house, then we can move some things around or possibly do weekend work
Sure.
To get it done in a time crunch. But generally, we stay about 2 to 3 months booked out. So.
okay. Very good. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate you guys having us on, and
No.
look forward to being on another time.
Yeah.
And talk about some other stuff.
Absolutely. Get
When
more into
AI
that AI.
Yeah, I was going to say, when AI takes over everything, we'll be in here talking. And
then Matt'll be doing our jobs for us.
This is my representative.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be on the podcast. The robot will be in the crawl space. It'll be
Yeah, right.
perfect. Yeah.
Sounds good. But thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Southside Blueprint, your guide for buying, selling, and investing in Southern Maryland. We'll see you guys next time.